Good morning, students. So today we have to start with the blood. So in the previous class we have seen about blood, and in this we have seen that blood has two basic parts. One is plasma and the another is blood cells. We have already seen about plasma. So plasma is just like the river in which these three types of blood cells are like the ships or boats which keeps on flowing in the plasma through the arteries, veins and capillaries. So we are going to start with the first type of blood cell, that is red blood cell. So red blood cell is commonly also known as oxygen carriers because they carry oxygen. We will see in further details about it. And red blood cell is also known as erythrocyte. The term erythro is coming from erythropoietin, it means red, and cyte, it means cell. So it is red in color, this cell is red in color, so that is why it is known as erythrocyte or the red blood cell or the red blood corpuscles. So let's start with the class. RBC is, first of all, we have to start with the structure. So RBC is biconcave in shape. So you can observe here it is concave. So concave on upper side as well as concave on lower side. Okay. So that is why upper as well as lower. So that is why biconcave. So when it is biconcave, it will be having a large surface area. For example, this is the simple cell. But when the RBC is there, it's biconcave here also and here also. That is why in this case there will be more surface area. Okay, whereas in this case the surface area is less. It is disc-like. You can observe the structure. It is disc-like. This also increases the surface area of the RBC. So more would be the surface area, more would be the transportation of respiratory gases like oxygen and carbon dioxide. The diameter of RBC is 7 micron meter. So when it is 7 micron meter, it will be very small and it can easily pass through the fine narrow capillaries. You can observe here, this is the narrow capillaries through which the RBC is capable to pass because of its small diameter. Now what is the number of RBC in adult males? In adult males, the number of RBC is 5 million per cubic millimeter, and in adult female it is 4.5 per cubic millimeter. Now a pigment is present in RBC and that pigment is known as hemoglobin. Hem term is taken from iron and globin is a protein. So RBC cell is colorless and spongy, and this colorless and spongy part of RBC is known as stroma, in which hemine is the iron containing pigment part and globin is the globular protein. So this structure, whole is globular protein. Okay, this is also globular protein, but inside this small heme group is present over here, that is iron containing pigment part, and due to this presence of iron containing pigment part, it appears red in color. What is the function of RBC? RBC carries oxygen because it has hemoglobin as pigment. HB is used to denote hemoglobin, and in hemoglobin iron is present in 2+ valency status. As we know, iron has variable valency, so in this case in hemoglobin it is present in 2+ valency status. So RBC's hemoglobin part will combine with oxygen and it will form oxyhemoglobin, and this is an unstable compound. Oxyhemoglobin is unstable compound, so easily it will give oxygen to the cells where it will be required for respiration, and it will be turning back to hemoglobin once again. So that is why this reversible reactions arrow-ish sign is being shown over here. Carbon dioxide is also transported by blood. So 7 to 10% of the carbon dioxide is transported by blood. In which form? That is in the form of carbonic acid. Chemically bound to hemoglobin, 20% is carried by RBC in the form of carboaminohemoglobin. So carbon dioxide also combines with hemoglobin, then it forms carboaminohemoglobin. Then bicarbonate ions in plasma, and 70% is transported as bicarbonate ions. Here we have seen that oxygen as well as carbon dioxide is being transported by hemoglobin. The another third gas is carbon monoxide, and carbon monoxide is having higher affinity, or hemoglobin is having higher affinity for carbon monoxide as compared to oxygen or carbon dioxide. And once a molecule of carboxyhemoglobin is formed, which is a stable compound, it will alter other 2 lakh molecules of hemoglobin not to react or not to combine with oxygen or carbon dioxide. So carboaminohemoglobin cannot carry oxygen and carbon dioxide, which will result into anoxia, and then it will result into suffocation. So in major cases, in the case of fires, the people die because of this suffocation created by carbon monoxide poisoning. So this is carbon monoxide poisoning. Once a molecule of carboxyhemoglobin is formed inside a body, it will make the RBC or hemoglobin not to carry oxygen or carbon dioxide, and this will result into anoxia and suffocation, and the person may lead to death. So that is why it is known as carbon monoxide poisoning. Okay. Then life and death of RBC. The birthplace of RBC in adult is long bone marrow. In standard 9, you have studied about the long bones like femur, ribs. These are the long bones. So in the long bones marrow, the RBC in case of adult will be formed. Then the birthplace of RBC in embryo is liver and spleen. In digestive system, we have studied about liver, and spleen is at the back of the stomach. Birthplace of RBC in children up to 5 years of age is all bones marrow, whether it is small or long. In case of mature mammalian RBC, we are mammals and are mature RBC, because at the time of birth of RBC it will have nucleus. So that's why I am mentioning here mature. So mature mammalian RBC is enucleated. It means without nucleus. Lifespan of RBC is 120 days. Then what happens to RBC after 120 days? Let's see. So erythrocytes, after the RBC will become weird or tiered or non-functional after 120 days. Then there will be phagocytosis, okay, by the Kupffer cells, and hemoglobin will be removed and globulin will be separated. So this cell left after phagocytosis will be given to the spleen. So that is why spleen is known as graveyard of RBC. So the cellular component of weird tiered RBC is given to the spleen. So that is why spleen is known as graveyard of RBC. And after that, the pigment part is taken up by the liver. So from the pigment part, the heme part is separated and the globulin part is separated. We know that globulin is protein. So this protein after hydrolysis will form the amino acids, which will be utilized by different parts of the body. Whereas this heme, which is the pigment part, will be decomposed or simplified in the liver in the form of bilirubin, and this bilirubin will be added or forming the bile, which is prepared by the liver, which will be stored in the gallbladder, and through the bile duct it will be added to the duodenum part of the alimentary canal. Okay, and the heme part of the hemoglobin will be given to the bone marrow, and again this will help in the formation of RBC or the erythrocyte. So this is the life cycle of RBC. Okay, and once the RBC will become weird, tiered or non-functional, the cellular part will be phagocytosed by the Kupffer cells, and then those parts will be deposited in the spleen. So that is why spleen is known as graveyard of RBC, and the pigment part, that is hemoglobin, will be decomposed into two basic parts or divided into two basic parts, that is heme and the globulin. The globulin is the protein which after hydrolysis will form the amino acids, and the heme will be divided into, or iron will be separated from the heme, and bilirubin will be converted into bile by the liver, stored in the gallbladder and added to the alimentary canal, which helps in the digestion of fats. And this iron will be again given to the long bones marrow, which will be used in the formation of new RBC. In normal adult, 2 million RBC are destroyed every day. Okay, every second. Okay, so here it should be every second, and it is 1% of total erythrocytes destroyed every day. Then next topic is deficient but efficient. So RBC is deficient with respect to many cell organelles, but that deficiency of those cell organelles makes this RBC more efficient. So it is deficient in nucleus, it is deficient in mitochondria, and it is deficient in endoplasmic reticulum. So when it is deficient in nucleus, due to the absence of nucleus, it will be having biconcave shape, okay, due to which the surface area by volume ratio will increase, and that is why it will be able to transport or absorb more oxygen. This deficient in nucleus will make their structure biconcave, because we know that nucleus in animal cell is centrally located. So when nucleus will be taken out, the central part of the cell will be pressed at the center and it will give a biconcave shape. So that is why more in less space, more number of RBC can be accommodated. Okay, so which will again help in the more transportation of oxygen and carbon dioxide, and the requirement of cells for respiration and other requirements will be fulfilled. Then what happens when mitochondria is absent? So can you tell any thief to be a guard of any substance? No. So if RBC will be having mitochondria, then the mitochondria of RBC will utilize whatever oxygen will be there for respiration and whatever glucose will be there for respiration. So it will not be reaching to the destination parts of the body. So full transportation of oxygen and of glucose will not occur. So this will again increase the efficiency of RBC. Lack of mitochondria, due to which the full transport of oxygen and glucose will occur through the RBC, and full oxygen and glucose will be reaching to the destination organs. Then it's also not having the endoplasmic reticulum, and as we know, endoplasmic reticulum provides the skeletal framework of the cell. So that is why, due to the absence of endoplasmic reticulum, the flexibility will increase and the cell will move easily through the narrow capillaries. Now some interesting facts about RBC. We know that RBC in case of newborn infants have a larger number of RBC. Why? In case of newborns, when a child is infant, we must have, or you must have observed, the rate of growth is very fast. And when the rate of growth is very fast, the rate of cell division is also high. To maintain that rate of cell division, the cell has to grow fastly. So that is why the rate of metabolic activities will also be high. And when the rate of metabolic activities also has to be high, the requirement of energy will be more. and when the requirement of energy will be more, there will be more requirement of oxygen and glucose, and that is why there should be more RBC to fulfill these requirements to all the cells for the increased cell division. Okay, then so understood the reason. Sometimes in exams it is asked. So newborns will have higher rate of growth, and for higher rate of growth the rate of cell division will be high. To maintain that rate of cell division, the rate of metabolic activities of the cells should be high, and that is why the requirement of energy by the cells to maintain that rate of metabolic activities would be high, and that is why to fulfill the requirement of oxygen and glucose, the number of RBC is more. The RBC count is lowered by 5% during sleep. So when you are sleeping, you are not performing any physical activities. So your muscles are at rest, especially the voluntary muscles. So that is why such amount of energy is not required. So the number of RBC is lower during sleep. Then RBC count is higher during physical activity or pregnancy or in emotional stress, because there will be more requirement of energy, and to fulfill that requirement of energy, the RBC count is higher during these physical activities or pregnancy or emotional stress. Then another reasoning based question, RBC count increases by 30% at higher altitudes above 4200 meter and above. You must have seen or gone to the places like Himachal or Kashmir, and you must have seen the girls over there having red cheeks. The reason is the number of RBC is higher in those areas. As we know in physics or in geography, you must have studied that as the altitude increases, the pressure of air decreases. So when the pressure of air decreases, the density of air also decreases. So the amount of oxygen also decreases. So that is why less would be the oxygen present in the air at that altitude. So to fulfill that requirement of oxygen, the RBC count increases, and they come to the superficial parts of the body, that is just below the skin. So more oxygen they can trap for the process of respiration. Okay, so that is why the RBC count increases by 30% at height above 4200 meter and above. So this is all for today. Thank you, class. So you will write down the notes from this video itself, and you will write down the answer of all these reasoning based questions in your biology fair copy. Thanks for listening me carefully. Thank you everyone. Have a nice day ahead.